Welcome to Women Who Fights podcast. We empower female fighters to take full agency over their training. Our goal is to celebrate and inspire others with the incredible action women and allies are taking to level the playing field. We talk to experts, uncover prejudice, and champion what's driving our progress.
And today we have Kylie with us. Kylie is a double Paralympian in wheelchair rugby and is currently training for the Tokyo Paralympics. Kylie was an athlete, show jumper, and an aspiring Olympian in her youth, and her life-changing spinal injury didn't change that, as she returned to sport within 3 years. In 2006, Kylie returned to competitive sport by cycling 450 kilometers from Vietnam to Cambodia to raise money for Regain, a charity dedicated to helping get newly injured tetraplegics back into sport. She started playing for the London Wheelchair Rugby Club in 2010 and for Great Britain in 2011. In 2012, she qualified for her first Paralympics in London. So, Kylie, tell us about your accident. What caused your paralysis?
Yeah, so basically when I was 18 years old, I'd just finished college and I was, any old student, 17, 18-year-old. It was the summertime and we just had a bit of fun. We decided to go to a house party, friends of ours in the evening. And unfortunately, I just had a freak accident in a pool, diving accident. To be honest, I don't really remember like the initial the accident itself of what happened, but I remember some of the people there being great, paramedics coming to help me, getting to hospital, and then waking up. The next thing I really remember is waking up in a spinal unit in a spinal hospital, and the doctors basically said, yeah, you've got a severe spinal injury and unfortunately you are never going to walk again, and you're going to have to find a new way of life, sitting down in a chair and getting on with the rest of us. So I was, in rehabilitation for 6 months and I had to learn to accept it from there on.
Wow. Oh my God. What was that? I mean, I can't even imagine what that was like. Kind of how, like, your whole life just changed overnight.
Yeah, basically. Do you know what? I think for me it's a blessing because I didn't really think too much into it. At the time, I just decided that I was going to take it on like a challenge. I was like, right, let's just see what each day brings. Who knows? They're telling me I might not walk again, but in my head I'm thinking maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'm not really sure, but either way, I just need to do the best I can with each day that I've got when I'm in here and just see what happens. I accepted it straight away, and I think that is vital. It's so important to just take the situation as it is, because I'm quite good at, I'm one of these people that if I can't change something, I don't dwell on it. I couldn't change that situation. I've broken my neck. I've got a paralysis for the rest of my life, potentially. And you've just got to, for me, I don't know how I'm quite good like this, but you've got to do the best of the situation. That's all I had in front of me. It was either sink or swim. It was do that, and it was do everything I possibly could with my life because I still had such an amazing life to live, or it sit still and do absolutely nothing. And to me, that's not winning, and I wasn't going to do that one because I'm so competitive, even with life, that I have to win.
Do you think, because you were an athlete, you're a show jumper before, do you think any of that helped build up your resilience?
100%. Sport has done that through my whole life. I can't stress to people the power of sport. I've said it from a very, very young age. Even just for a child, just to be a part of a club and that environment, having the friends, the relationships, building up, learning what's right and what wrong, winning and not winning is, to me, it's so important. I truly believe it teaches you a lot of valuable life lessons, and it also just helps you with your resilience, your strength, your mindset. I really do believe that massively.
Wow. Is there anything that you can, because I think it's quite unusual to be able, in my own experience, acceptance is something that I work on. I don't accept, and I think a lot of people don't either.
Mm-hmm.
What is that sort of process that you go through to accept something which is so, anything like that?
I think, I don't know if it's an advantage or a disadvantage, but with these areas in life, I'm very black and white. I don't really know where that's come from or why, so I can't really like pinpoint it. But I just knew that I had to accept it. There was no other issue. I wasn't going to accept laying in a bed. I wasn't going to accept sitting still. So I had no choice but to accept that my legs weren't going to work. Some of my body wasn't going to work, and I just needed to do it. But you know, I actually found it really interesting. The more I learned, the more I was in rehab, and they started talking about the body and how your body works and how it's now going to work for the future and all of that. I think sport helped me with that as well, because you know, we're used to learning about how to fuel our bodies correctly and how to get the best out of them. So for me, I actually took the whole process of rehabilitation as so interesting, relearning my body from start to beginning, you know, and just like from the beginning, to now. And like I'm still learning my body now and how it works and all the different things. And a spinal injury is, as much as it's a devastating thing, it actually is very fascinating how the body can still function and still work. It's truly amazing. So if you kind of take the sadness away and the what you can't do anymore, and that your life's changed, and you flip it around and you look at the things your body can still do with the spinal injury, what you still are capable of in life, the amazing life you still can have, all those things, all the positive things that you can do, honestly, it will just change your mindset, and you kind of won't just dwell on the sadness and the negative things. That's what I found.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I mean, it sounds really difficult to do, but it sounds like the right thing to do. And what was your rehab like? What was that? I guess because it took you 3 years before you got back into sport. What was that process of rehab like?
So I was in the rehabilitation centre itself for 6 months. You basically have to relearn your body. You have to learn every element of spinal injury. So learning how your bladder works again, your bowels work again, your body works, learning about skin issues, that you can't just sit still for too long in one day, or you could get pressure sores. You know, all the basic things with the spinal injury that are very complicated, but you just have to learn them to then go on to live a healthy life, you know, and be as healthy as possible. You know, our lung function's a little bit less because I'm a high tetraplegic. So our lungs are a little bit affected. Mine's actually at 100%, and I've worked my butt off to get it there. But, you know, like there's all these things. But yeah, learning that, you know, sport is still really good for you. You've got to try and eat well, try not to put on too much weight. And do you know what? For a lot of wheelchair users, that's probably the hardest one, because in actual fact, you kind of get taught for so long, oh, you've got to eat around 2,000 calories a day. Well, I can tell you now, a wheelchair user does not need that amount. We do not burn half as much as an able-bodied person does in a day with, you know, what we consume. So in actual fact, we have to cut our calories down, otherwise we start putting weight on. And you have to really learn your body again. It is really quite challenging in the beginning, till you figure it out and get used to it. So yeah, you spend all the time in rehab learning all about that. And then basically physio as well, you know, standing. Even though I can't actually stand myself, I still have to go in a standing frame, which helps me stand up to support my body, because things like that are so important for your bone density, your bone health, not breaking bones. Like if I was to fall out of my chair right now and I had weak bones, they would just break. And even though I'm not walking, that's still not good for me to keep breaking bones. And things like that. So, you know, there's other elements you have to do physically, training, get your muscles strong again, try and do some weight training in the gym. The physios teach you all of this. They're amazing. And then it's obviously basic stuff as well, like learning to dress, learning to shower, daily living, learning to cook for yourself. Honestly, it's very complicated, and there is so much you have to learn, which is why you're there. I was actually there very short, being 6 months. They got me through it all pretty quick, because I was just like, right, let's go. What do I need to learn? Whereas some people, it takes a lot longer. So I have known people to be in hospital a year.
Right, okay. It sounds like with your attitude of just like, right, okay, let's go, let's take this in my stride. That would make sense to me that you would have gone through that process like quicker than maybe others.
Yeah. Was there any part of this that had to do with the mental aspect? So were they coaching you on how to get through this tough time, or is it if you're tough, you make it. If you're not,
No, absolutely. They have everybody there. They have psychologists, they have support. Anybody that you want, you can speak to. I was sort of assessed when I was first injured, when I came out of intensive care. When you're up in the centre, they kind of assess you and just see how you're doing. I think she could tell straight away that I was absolutely fine and I was going to be, for a long time, like there was no issues whatsoever. But you can be completely open with them and tell them exactly how you're feeling, which is amazing, because people who are struggling, who find it hard, they will have that support there, which is vital, because I know I'm very, very unique. I do know that after meeting, many people with spinal injuries, I know that it can be a huge challenge for a lot of people. So yeah, they've got that support there. You've got therapists, you've got anybody that you want to talk to really to help you through. So that's good as well.
Yeah.
Are there moments in your life now where you go up and down, or is it just up? No.
Not with my spinal injury. Not with my spinal. It's very strange. So life has roller coasters. My sport, for instance, as a Paralympian, it's emotional roller coaster. It's up and down. It's wins. It's losses. It's horrendous. In life in general, I have up days, I have down days. Like some days when I've got bills to pay, I've got things to do, I get overwhelmed like everybody else. I'm like, I've got to write a job list. I've got so much to do. But with my spinal injury and the day-to-day of living with that and the complications it brings, do you know what? I don't know why, I'm just so lucky. I don't have any negative sort of feeling towards it. I can actually tell you now that I can swing it around and say that I am very glad that my spinal injury happened, and it changed my life in so many ways. And I can now see life from a very different perspective. And it's enabling me to have empathy towards people that have struggles in life, which I may not have had because, as an 18-year-old able-bodied person, you don't think about anybody really. You're at that age where you're kind of little bit selfish. What am I going to do with my life? I don't really know. It made me grow up very quickly, and it made me see life from a very, very different view. And it just gave me that empathetic side that I now just really would love to help people along, like I have been my whole career and for forever really. And try and get the best out of people in life. I see so much potential in people. And I don't believe, I don't know, but I don't believe I would have had that side to me if I hadn't have had the spinal injury.
Yeah, that sort of trauma definitely, like, it gives empathy when you experience something like that, for sure. I can see how that would work. How do you help others do you do it professionally or do you do it unprofessionally?
It's a little bit of both at the minute. I'm actually sort of in training to do all of this. This is what I'd like to do after my sporting career. I think I'm going to potentially go back and do health psychology and start learning all of that. That's my next stages for the next few years.
Wow.
But basically for now, it's kind of unprofessionally with my experience through life, just sort of sharing my experiences, and because of lockdown last year, I went online and I started doing videos of my day-to-day life to help the spinal community with, people that were struggling. I used to get messages a lot saying, how do you transfer on the sofa? How do you put your shoes on? And I started doing videos for them to show them how I do stuff. So I do physical videos like that. And then also, just talk to people about my mindset, positivity, my sport, how I stay strong, all those sorts of things, just to really try and help them, give them some sort of boost and motivation. I don't know, it's quite hard because for me, I find motivation for myself, it comes from within with me. I don't really look to outside sources as such for motivation. I just want to be better all the time. I want to be better. I want to do better. I want to learn. So I get a lot of my motivation from myself, but some people don't. And I find that if I can try and inspire them and motivate them to do a bit more, because I just get so sad when I hear people have got a spinal injury and then they're sitting in their houses and not really doing a lot, because there's such a big world out there, and I just want everyone to be experiencing some of the things I am, because it's incredible.
Yeah.
Kylie, can I ask you something? Do you reckon someone that has a spinal injury would take up sport after its spinal injury? Would that work? Do you reckon?
Some of them do, yeah. So I've met some people that are not sporty at all. They've never played a sport in their lives, and then they have an injury like this. And in rehab, they kind of drill into you a little bit how important sport is for just the rehabilitation to get yourself strong and for your mental health as well. So yes, a lot of people that aren't into sport do turn to sport after an injury, and they actually see the benefits. So they keep going with it, even if it's just sort of, club level and fun, and they've got their, another community around them. Because the good thing with disability sport is you're going there with people who are very similar to yourself. So you see it constantly, you see what they're doing, you see how they get on with life, you talk to them about things. So just being in that environment massively helps you after a huge, like injury.
Wow. I think that's one of the most important things, isn't it? Is having a community of people where you've got that shared experience, or you've got that the shared issues and the shared joy, that sort of. I feel like sport is. I mean, like in my experience of sport, like it is. I mean, it's amazing just to connect. It connects you to your body, doesn't it? It makes you feel like you're one whole thing, like one whole being, rather than like we always separate the mind and body, don't we? We're like mind, body, separate things. Some people don't use their body at all. Yeah, okay, that makes so much sense to me. And how does, in terms of the world being designed for, it's not designed for people with disabilities. How do you deal with that, like mentally? I mean, for maybe feels like a silly question now because you're so like, it's fine. But is there any sort of particular struggles that you have, which you find, which you see in our society?
Of course there are. There's so many. But do you know what? Again, I don't know if this is just me, but I try and take all the positives all the time. And so when I see people moaning about accessibility and, the tubes in London, for instance, and the buildings with steps up here and that, I kind of like, I'm like, I can see your point and I see what you're getting at. And we just want, equal for all. We want to be able to just go in a building and just be able to get in there without asking for help all the time and things. I get it. I really do. It must be such a struggle for some people. But for me, I just find other ways round. Or I go in another building, or if there was like 5 steps and, it was a coffee shop or something, I just would go to another one. Like, I don't even bother with it anymore. I just want my life to be easy, stress-free. I'm very, very lucky with the family and the support I have. That is a huge thing that I need to put out there. My family want to make the world accessible for me, so they will do whatever they need. I've got friends, I've got people that will just go and find a wooden ramp if they've got to step up to their house and I'm going to meet them. They'll put a wooden ramp down for me. There's like just so many things that we try not to make an issue of it, but we try and just laugh it off a little bit and, do the best that we can, really. But the world definitely isn't built for wheelchairs in the slightest. There's even just going out, some people even struggle just to get up a small curb. Nowhere's flat, but I must say that they are improving. So, when new builds are happening or when a town's being sort of redeveloped, I am noticing that all the curbs are pretty flat. All the paths are really good. They're not using kind of cobbly stones, You can get into the buildings, and when you're in the building, you can get to a disabled toilet, which is downstairs, or on the ground floor, sorry, not like downstairs. I am finding things better, and the more building work that's happening, the more modern there are rules and regulations. So that is helping massively. But obviously, we've still got the issue of some of the very old buildings in this country and grade 2 listed buildings and all that sort of thing. But do you know what? I kind of look at it and I'm like, that's such a beautiful building. Don't change it. Just leave it, and I'll enjoy it from the outside, and I'll have a look around and do the best I can. That's kind of how I see the world.
Amazing. And so, like, going on to your sport, wheelchair rugby, which looks amazing. Like, I love.
But be honest, it looks brutal.
It does.
I did watch some clips, and I was like, what on earth is happening? Why are they so violent? And we're doing combat sports, so we know violence.
Yeah.
Like, why are they so violent? So talk to us about that. You're a Paralympian in a mixed gender team, a
Yes.
mixed gender, all right? And
Yes.
this is our main question with Shanti. How is it being in a mixed gender team?
It's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. That's what drew me to the sport straight away when I saw it. I rocked up and the guys all said, "Yeah, have a go at wheelchair rugby," and I was like, "Oh, wheelchair rugby. Okay, is it anything like rugby union or rugby? Because I played rugby union a little bit when I was at college, but the sport is actually nothing to do with rugby." In the slightest. It's a very, very different sport in its own way. It was originally called murder ball.
We can understand why. We get why. Yeah.
Murder ball.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Exactly. So when they when they designed the sport back in the 70s up in Canada, it was a group of Canadian guys, so one Canadian guy. And basically, it was, I'll give you a little bit of history. It was made because basically with our level of injury, having disability in all four limbs, tetraplegics, is where it started. People with a broken their neck, basically. And we don't have the dexterity to sort of dribble a ball or bounce a ball or shoot a hoop. So like wheelchair basketball was really hard for us. They came up with this idea in the 70s in Canada to make this new sport called murder ball. And it was, the basics of it, hit each other, smash the chairs. It's full contact between chairs. There's no contact between bodies. So that is why we can play as a mixed gender, because we're not actually allowed to hit each other. You can hit chairs as hard as you like, but you can't physically hit me. So if one of the boys were to like slap me on the arm or something like that, didn't realise that was going. Yeah, if one of the boys were to slap me on the arm, then we would have issues. So it would be called illegal use of hands, and they would be put in the sin bin, basically. It's a crazy sport, and I just love it. But the reason it couldn't be called murder ball, obviously, is for, it's not really a sport that you can say, "Oh yeah, I play murder ball," when you get to a Paralympic level. So they decided to change the name back to wheelchair rugby, and keep it as that once it got into Paralympic level sport, because it became it was a demo sport in 1996, and then it became into the Paralympics in 2000 at Sydney Olympics. So that's how long it's been around now. So sort of on the Paralympic level for like 21 years. But yeah, I am currently the only female on the wheelchair rugby team for Great Britain. There has been other females in the past, and I do love having other females on the team. I'm not going to lie. It does feel slightly, weird when there's only one of me, but I'm used to it now because I've been playing with the boys for a very long time. But yeah, it's amazing. And I said to you guys before, there's going to be at the Paralympic Games this year in Tokyo for the first time, hopefully 4 women in the top 4 teams in the world, which is absolutely incredible because we've never had that before. I hope. We've got to wait for team selection yet to see if the women are all selected or not. But hopefully there'll be 4 women at this Games.
Wow.
Can you tell us how did you get into it? Who found you? How did you find it?
Of course. So basically, when you're, like I said before, when you're in rehabilitation, they give you an option of sports to try. So when I was there, the first thing I said to them was, I played a lot of sports as a kid. So what can I do? And they basically said there's bocce, there's wheelchair tennis, there's wheelchair basketball. But again, that's probably not for quads, because when you're there, they understand, like quadriplegic, tetraplegic, that's the same thing, by the way. So if I say quad or tetra, it's the same thing. Someone keeps ringing a buzzer, sorry. But yeah, basically there's quadriplegic and tetraplegic is the same thing. Then you have paraplegic, which is where you break your back. So yeah, if I say quad or tetra, it basically means the same thing. But when I'm in hospital, they basically said to me, Kylie, what sports do you want to play? And I was like, the fastest sort of ones that I possibly could. I explained to them that I used to ride horses and I used to play rugby. And they basically said to me, I think you're going to be really well suited to wheelchair rugby. Do you want to come and have a look? So, yeah, I went down there and literally saw the guys smack the chairs together. And I was like, I want to play that.
Wow.
I want to play that. I want to play Murderball.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's like, I love that I just love that it's so violent. It makes me sort of like smile because there's a lot of I don't know, maybe I don't know what you think about this, but like if you're injured or sort of in some way you've got a disability, maybe there's more like, oh, you know, be careful, they're fragile, don't, you know, hurt, maybe not strong, all of this stuff. And then you see these like killers on wheels, like just smashing into each other. You're like, whoa, my God, this is amazing. And so can you talk to us about your spinal injury and in terms of how you adapt your training? And also how it informs your unique injury, how it informs your position and how you actually are involved in the game.
Yeah, so basically there's two positions when you play in wheelchair rugby. You're either a defender or an offensive player. So I am a defender. That basically means that's because of my spinal injury. So basically, depending on what your disability is and what level of injury you've got and what function you've got in your body determines what position you play on court. So I am a defender because I am a 0.5, which means I'm probably one of the most disabled on the team, or I am, because of my level of injury. So yeah, basically that means I have to do all the blocking and those sorts of skills. And then you've got the boys that have got a lot more function that they do all the ball handling stuff. And basically the training is very much tailored around that, and we have strength coaches that, you know, help us get the best out of our bodies. Because for instance, I've got, you know, triceps that don't work very well, my hand function doesn't work very well, things like that. So I have to then tailor my gym sessions around that, just to try and get the best out of my body. When I'm pushing in my rugby chair, for instance, as a defender, I spend a lot of the time on court just sort of continually moving. I try not to stop and start, because the stop and start part is the really difficult bit for me to get the chair moving. Whereas the guys that are the offensive players, and they're a lot faster, they've got near enough, the majority of their body works that they have. So some of them are amputees and stuff, but their whole body actually, like their core works and their arms work and things like that. So basically, it's tailored around that for them, so they can do slightly more challenging things in a gym. You know, they can do chin-ups, they can do, you know, all the things outside of their chair. And then when we're playing in our rugby chairs, they can do more sprint work, they can do stop-start work. You know, they can lift heavier weights, they can, you know, chuck things around, they can do battle ropes, they can probably do a bit more than I can do when we're training. But that's what our amazing staff do for us, and they help us adapt, you know, with all of that stuff. And I've got an incredible strength coach who I've had since 2013, and he's amazing because he will make a gym really accessible to me, which I absolutely love, because you'll go in a standard gym and you'll think, oh, I can't get on any of that equipment, but I will go down to Ed and he'll get me out of my chair and he'll get me on a bench and he'll help me transfer over. And then just by using like a chest strap or something, it makes it, you know, accessible to me and I'm not feeling like I'm going to fall off. And then, he'll help me bench press, which I'd never done before because of the lack of tricep, but he taught me a different way to be able to do it, you know, by using more of my, you know, deltoids and other muscles, some of my back muscles, to be able to get the bar up there. And I just remember the first time I ever did it, I couldn't even lift a single 5 kilogram bar off my chest. Not at all. I was like, Ed, I just can't do it. And now, like years, I know it's taken years, but years on, I'm with the help of him, I'm now lifting 25 kilos.
Wow.
So it is possible, and it's always possible to adapt. You've just got to find different ways. And if muscles don't work, you've got to overcompensate with other muscles and things like that. But having the correct strength coach in those areas, to me, is vital.
Kylie, you said in the beginning of the podcast that falling down your wheelchair, you need to be strong enough to handle it, and the sport consists of a lot of falling. If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you then prepare yourself to be like, all right, I'm gonna get back to my chair? What kind of strength conditioning do you do for that?
It's not so much for me as a defender. That's more the offensive guys. They have to be, physically strong, so they're not breaking bones, damaging themselves as much as possible. I guess it's the same as rugby, to be honest. You just have to take a lot of impact, get your body used to it, because at the end of the day, it's not normal for us to be being smacked and smashed about all the time. The same with rugby players. They obviously do a lot of pad work and whatever they do within training. So it's the same with us. You spend a lot of time in training, hitting each other, doing certain drills where your chairs are having full contact so that your body gets used to it all the time. Because, it's really fascinating, actually. When we went into lockdown and we had no contact for a long time, we then basically went back to contact training, and we all hurt so bad for like a little while. It really hurt. Our bodies felt broken.
I think everyone's body felt broken, because you're in a state where you're just stuck in the house and you're like, oh yeah. What was your mindset during lockdown? How did you deal with that?
Oh, do you know, actually, that was a tough time for me. And this is one of those things. So I'm not somebody who sits still. I'm not somebody who takes that very well. If you tell me to stay in my house, I would find that really, really challenging. These are the sides and things in life that would affect me quite a lot. I like to be busy and out there. So when we were told, oh, we're going into lockdown, and at the same time, I don't know if the Paralympics is going to happen or whether it's going to be cancelled, we were all like, what? This is like 4 years of our lives that we've just trained for, and it could potentially all be wiped. And that was really, really challenging to kind of get your head around. We worked so hard for a 4-year cycle to get to a Paralympic Games. It's not just a year, it's a whole 4-year cycle. So yeah, to do that was hard. So I gave myself a couple of weeks of not really doing much, still training, because I had to still train because we were training from home for the time being. I'm very lucky that I've got a gym at my house. So I still had to do that, but I wasn't really present in my training sessions. I didn't really want to be there. I struggled with it. I got it done, but I wasn't enjoying it. And I gave myself kind of 2 weeks to feel like that, to understand, that I'm kind of grieving a little bit. I'm kind of a bit lost. I didn't really know what was happening. So I just allowed that. And then after those 2 weeks, I went, right, come on, now we've got to get on with this. So I took myself back to basics like I'd always do, which is what I did in rehab and everywhere I go. I started planning. I started getting up at the same time every day. Like 7 o'clock, my alarm went, go in the kitchen, make myself a cup of tea. And I stuck to routine, and I planned my days, and I got a planner out, and I wrote down every day for like the next 10 days what I was going to do. And I stuck to it, because routine gets me out of any bad habits, and sort of gets my head like mentally back in the game. So I just stuck to the routine, got the training done. And then after like 5-6 days again, I started feeling really good. And I was like, see, you just need to get back into that routine, get doing it, make sure you do it every day. And then you start feeling better about yourself again. And I did. And then I was like, right, where are we going to go from here? And then we started talking with the team a bit more, and we kept, even though we still didn't really know, and it was a bit sort of a grey area of what was happening, we decided to have team meetings and quizzes and, pick each other up. And we explained that we were all feeling a bit low, and we didn't really, what to expect. So yeah, we all picked each other up, we all helped as a team, and then it just kept going from there, really. And then the better I felt, sort of 4 or 5 weeks into it, I decided that, do you know what, I'm going to use this time now to work on personal goals, work on personal things that I've got, because I'd wanted to do it for so long. And sometimes sport, when you're in elite sport, it just takes over your life. It becomes a lifestyle, and you just focus on that all the time. So then I was like, oh, I'm going to do these things that I've really wanted to do for a long time. I've got some time now. So yeah, I set up my website. I started doing talks for companies. I get my story out there a little bit more. And that's when the video started to help people around the world. And yeah, talking to more people, connecting more people all around the world. I was doing Zoom calls with people in Australia, Canada, talking about my life and my experiences and trying to help them, you know, with their spine injury and things that they were struggling with. So yeah, I did all of that last year. And then again, you know, when you start seeing yourself achieving things, you just, I don't know, I just get so much energy around me, positivity, and I just want to keep going. So yeah, I've not really looked back since kind of end of March last year, really, I think.
Wow, so that's pretty soon after the lockdown that you were like, and we go.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much truth in everything you just said, but the thing that I'm thinking of is that idea of once you achieve something and you see it kind of, I don't know what it makes you feel so good, because you're like, oh, when I do apply myself, I get what I want, I get what I need, I get positivity out of it, and then it fuels you to go again, and it becomes like a positive cycle as opposed to the negative cycle of the opposite. So it's like, if you can just shimmy into that positive mindset of, and for you, and probably for a lot of people, routine is the way that you manage to get in that. I think that's so important. There was a lot last year about having a routine, like getting up, make sure you make your bed, make sure you have like something, you know, there's like something you're going to be doing that day.
Yeah. I think it's vital. I really do. It helps me. So
yeah.
No, for sure. It's the little gains every day. For example, I've read something somewhere where it was saying, wake up, make your bed, go have breakfast. All of these are little steps that you do every day, and require discipline to keep doing them every day, and it gives you this loop of yes, I achieved that, let's go to the next bit. And so it's I can see myself not doing it in the lockdown and feeling the reverse. So yeah.
I started doing yoga every morning, and it was amazing, because it was like I did it at like 8 o'clock, and it would just be because I did something physical in the morning. Why are you laughing at me?
Because I remember she was telling me, I'm waking up every day at 8, and I was like, what? At 8 to do yoga?
It was amazing. It was so good, because I did like one of those classes, you know, and I just did it. It was like an hour, and I just do yoga for an hour, and then it would suddenly be like 9:15, and it'd be like, oh, okay, I've already done something. Like, it's 9:15. I've done something that I'm really proud that I've done, and then it just sort of sets the tone of the day. You're like, oh, okay, I'm going to have a coffee. Oh, I made myself a coffee. Ah, this is fantastic. Do you know what I mean?
100%. But for me as well, that's vital that I learn is make sure they're achievable goals. You know, because something like yoga is achievable. You know, make sure they're achievable. If you set yourself right, by 10 o'clock, I want to have done this, and like got 5 things in front of you, it's not always achievable. You know, and then you'll set yourself up for the other way, the negative mindset, and the feeling, you know, bad about not being able to achieve those things. So yeah, I always say to people as well, set goals, set targets, but small steps. Don't overdo it, don't overwhelm yourself, and don't set them too high, because you'll do the complete opposite, and you'll feel like a failure if you don't achieve them. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely. I remember doing that as a kid, like, or you know, you'd make a massive to-do list, and then you'd sort of do some of it, and then you'd be like, and then at the end of the day you'd be like, I didn't achieve anything, because you'd actually just set, or like when you were revising for an exam, that's when I remember doing it a lot, because you'd be like, I'm going to revise all of this stuff and I'm going to get it all smashed, it's going to be amazing, and then at the end of like the week you're like, I didn't do half of that, and you just have this sense of like gloom, even though you might have achieved something, or anyway. So yeah, achievable, absolutely. And so within your team, what's the dynamic? Because we talked about your role on the team, and within your team, what's the dynamic as being the only woman? Like, is there, I think we talked before about you sort of bringing a different perspective.
Yeah, definitely. It's really nice actually having, you know, men and women. That's one thing I love, and I love seeing the differences in our personalities. And, you know, yeah, being a woman on team, I do bring different elements to the boys. So I find when, you know, say like we're winning a game or losing a game, and it's all a bit like sort of energetic, and the boys are all rushing around the court and, you know, full of testosterone and a bit of aggression, and they're kind of like, wow, charging around, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. And sometimes they kind of get a bit like loose-headed, you know, and they don't really think about what they're doing. They're just trying to put all their power and strength in and win the battle that way. Do you know what I mean? And they kind of go a bit gung-ho. That's what the men are like, I find. And, you know, that's just my perspective of watching them play. That's what I see. And so it's just really nice sometimes to just say, you know, have a calm head on court and be able to be like, boys, look, I'm excited with you right now, but calm down. Like, just calm and keep chilled. We need to use our brains, not just all our body power. You know, and there is a massive difference in men and women physically. They are very, very much stronger than I am. And it's quite obvious when we're on court. You know, they smash me and I go absolutely flying. So, you know, there is a physical difference there, but I can bring so many other elements, you know, the calm, the head. I can use my brain, I can talk, I can communicate really, really well. And because I am a slower player on court compared to them, I can just see everything a lot more. I've got more time when we're on the court, so I can look up and I'm like, oh, boys, I can see this happening, and I could just keep communicating things to them, and just try and keep them calmer. And it generally, the dynamic works. It really does. The boys, you know, as far as I'm aware, love having me on the team. They say it a lot, and they say that I'm a good communicator, and it's really nice to have me, you know, there talking to them. And it's nice that when some of them are getting a bit excited, or when we've had a turnover, they're like, oh, it's nice just to hear you say, okay, next play, calm. And you know, it just keeps them switched on. So yeah, there are differences there, but they work well together and they gel really nicely, the different dynamics of, you know, men and women.
Are they also like you? Are they go, we're gonna win, positive, or are there ups and downs within the team? I mean, on the mental side of it.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, because we're all in the sport, which is absolutely crazy, as you know, I think we're all very similar mindset. We're all, you know, got big dreams in life, big goals. We all want to win that Paralympic gold medal as well. We're all extremely competitive. Everyone on the team, there's, you know, some of the boys are so competitive, even more so than me, and I don't even know how. Like, it's crazy, you know. I watch them and I'm like, oh wow. But yeah, no, I think we're all got pretty similar mindset. We're all very positive people. We all want to win. We all want to help each other. We all want to do the best. And we are, obviously, we play a team sport, so we're all quite team minded, which is absolutely amazing, because it's really nice when you're on a team of people that all want to sort of get the best out of each other and try and win, really. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the loveliest things about teams, is that you are a team. Like, the way that you support each other it's lovely.
Yeah.
And I can also imagine, like, like when you have any issues or something with your experiences as a quadriplegic, it feels like it's such a shared thing as well. Do you find that it's like you're all sort of in it together quite a lot?
Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, a lot of us on the team have got spinal injuries. Some of the other guys have got other disabilities, like, for instance, cerebral palsy, amputees on the team. Some of the guys have meningitis, so they're like quad amps, or, you know, they've got like fingers missing and then both their legs missing, because obviously to play our sport you have to have disability in all four limbs, so you can't just have leg amputation, you have to have something wrong with your hands or arms as well. So the boys, you know, even the guys that are really quite functional, shall we say, that still got, you know, a lot of their bodies working, we can still learn a lot from each other. You know, they've learned a lot from us as well, and they see, you know, the challenges we face and what we deal with, and we see what they deal with and what they've been through, and it does open your eyes. It's just really nice. But we can all openly talk about it. You know, everyone on the team's happy. We talk about things to each other all the time. And yeah, we're all there for each other if ever we're struggling. Or it's amazing, because if I go in and I'm like, oh, John, how did you do this the other week? Or how do you do this? Can you help me explain? Or, you know, I've come up with a thing at home and I can't figure it out, because we try and like find solutions all the time. We're really good. And Johnny will go, oh, I do it like this. And then I'm like, why didn't I think of that? You know, and it's just so nice that we've all got each other there with the same experiences and what we're going through. And we can all talk about it. It is a unique environment to be in. But it's one that has massively helped me, just to be around like-minded people and also people who are going through the same things. I find some people, when they're newly injured, because they still can't accept the disability and what they're going to face, they don't want to be associated with anybody else with disabilities or wheelchair users, or that even be involved with disability sport. If you say that to them, they kind of go, no, I don't want to be a part of that. You know, they try and have all able-bodied friends and just cut themselves out from that. But I try and just show them my experience and how actually it will massively help you accept your injury and help you live a more sort of fulfilled, positive life, because you'll be able to see what these guys are all doing and what everybody can do. So I just try and share it through my experience. But sometimes it can be quite hard for some people to accept, I guess, when they're newly injured. That can be a challenge. But yeah.
How often do you train? What's the intensity of a Paralympian athlete?
So currently I'm training 5 to 6 days a week, depending on if it's a heavy week or a slightly lighter week. If it's really heavy and we're on a heavy load week, I will sort of do 5 tough days, because my body needs a couple of days to recover, because being, you know, having a high level spinal injury, it's quite hard. I do need to allow, it's one thing that I didn't used to do is when I was younger and I was playing the sport, was like really rest and recover. And I think I've learned just from growing up and, you know, getting used to my body that is so vital, and it's so important to allow my body to fully recover before I can train hard again. So yeah, if we're in a heavy load, I will sort of do 5 days. And that kind of consists of 3 to 4 hours in my rugby chair with the boys. And then the next day I'll do sort of 2 gym sessions. I'll do a bit of cardio, then I'll do a weight session in the afternoon, lift some weights. If I'm down with Ed, my strength coach, I generally do about 1 hour and 40 minutes with him in the gym. So that's quite a tough session. That's kind of, you know, go. It's, you know, a lot of bench pressing, chin ups, lifting, you know, all sorts of weights, free weights, med balls, all that sort of thing. So yeah, that's quite tough. And after that one, I always want a coffee and a sleep.
Coffee first, then sleep.
Well, I always have a coffee, drive home, and then a sleep.
Oh, right. Okay. So a heavy week is sort of like training twice a day, so up to 4 hours for 5 days.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. And what would a lighter week look like?
So a lighter week is what we've actually just done this week. We're on a deload week at the moment, into next, because we've got our camp next week, and they're just sort of preparing us for a potential tournament, hopefully, that we've got in June. If it all goes ahead, that will be our one and only tournament before the games. So yeah, we're on deload at the minute, which basically means easing off intensity, slightly less. So I'll kind of do 2.5 hours in my rugby chair, just not so, you know, intense. It's just like, so you take it down a notch, really. When you're doing the sort of fitness work, you just kind of do out of 10, you sort of aim for 6 rather than 8 or 9. You know, you're not kind of pushing your body quite as hard. And then, yeah, you kind of ease off again in the gym. So slightly less like reps and sets, and slightly less time you're in there, really. So some of my gym sessions this week have only been 50 minutes. So just targeting the right muscles, you know, like one day I'll do shoulders and back, the next day I'll do arms. So yeah, but yeah, just all slightly less intense, really.
How often are you in the court?
So is that for like competition or training wise?
Like training wise.
So training wise, we're on the court currently 3 days a week at the minute, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
And how on earth do you set the? Do you say I'm gonna go light in the court today? How does that work?
We just, because we all know our routine now, and we all have the same sort of timetable set out. So we're all on a deload week. So on the Monday, when I'm up with the boys, Chris and John, I train with them because we're like local to London. So we kind of do area training when we're not at a whole GB camp. So we'll train with the guys in our area, because obviously we're all spread across the whole country. We've got guys from the north all the way to the south, and we've got some in Wales. So yeah, it's best that we basically, I'll get to training and I'll be like, John, Chris, it's, easier week this week. Are we just going to take a few sets out? And basically and one of our strength coaches will have said, right, this week you're just doing this and this, you're just taking off a couple of sets and stuff like that. So we know what we've got to do. But then when we do the sort of drill work and the ball skills and the passing drills, we just ease off. We just don't push as hard. I'll say to the boys, right, I'm going to take a little bit longer rest now. I'll go and do a couple of minutes, just like easier work, just throwing some balls against the wall. And then we'll get back to it. And yeah, over the years, you just get used to it. It's really hard to explain, but you just know to ease off slightly.
This creates this big question in my head. What if the heavy week is your PMS week? How does that work?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a really tough one, obviously. And I'm so good and open with the boys, and I will talk to them about everything and my cycle. And if I'm having, obviously when within a women's cycle, we have weeks where we can lift really strong and weeks where we feel weaker. It's part of it. And on those weeks where, I'm leading up to my period and I'm feeling a bit weak and I'm like, oh, my body's just not working for me. And I don't know about you, but I get like forgetful. I get a bit forgetful and a bit clumsy. So you can always tell when it's coming because I start dropping things a bit more. And with my poor hand function anyway, I then start like dropping things on the floor and I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm getting clumsy and, I'm forgetting things and I'll forget my words. So I'll be at camp and I'll try and say something. And then I'm like, what's that word? And I forget my word. And the boys are like, oh, no, you're forgetting words. And then, and we just know it's coming. So and then I just know it's coming. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, it's the week before. Yeah, okay, I'm feeling weak. So if I've got a heavy week that week, but I'm not really feeling it, or my body's just not going, not playing ball, basically, I will just be really open with everyone. When I see my strength coach, I'll say, Ed, it's the week before, I'm feeling weak. Can we tailor it? And he'll just do slightly lighter, but more reps and stuff like that for me. He won't just make me go and, try and lift a 1 rep max because it's just not going to work. So he knows women, he knows training, he's been doing it for years. So he'll just tailor that for me. And my needs and what I need to do. And then the boys are actually really good, when I'm open with them and I'm honest. And if I say, do you know what? I'm not feeling great today. I'm feeling a bit snappy, a little bit annoying. You're all getting on my nerves for no reason, but it's me, it's my hormones. Then they're amazing. They'll just leave me alone and they'll give me my, my space and stuff like that. So even though I'm in a quite male dominated sport, it's open for everyone. You just have to be honest. This is your team. You just got to tell them and they get it. They understand. And I think over the years, me sort of drilling it into them and making them aware that if I bite their head off one day, it's probably not me. It's just me being hormonal and I just need some space. I think when you drill it into them, they kind of get the idea and they're like, and they get it and they're like, all right, Kylie's, don't get me wrong, they do take the mick all the time. And they'll make a joke or they'll be like, oh, Kylie, here she goes again, hormonal Kylie's coming out. And they'll be like, stay away from her today and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, they'll make a joke of it and then they'll leave me to it. So it's quite nice.
Okay. It's quite a predictable cycle. So I guess that they can like, oh, it's been 3 weeks. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you track your cycle? Is that part of your training then?
Not massively for me, because actually I had the coil fitted about 3 years ago just to try and make them easier for my training load and stuff, because if I didn't have anything to help, it was getting like really quite bad and my periods are really heavy. And I actually get to the point where I get blue lips and I kind of nearly I've never passed out, but I get very faint. And I get really bad cramps like that. Even when I was able-bodied in my teens, I used to get it a lot and I'd get blue lips and get shaky if it was particularly bad. So yeah, I basically went to the doctors and they gave me the injection for quite a few years, which really, really helped massively. I didn't even have to worry about it. I had no periods. I hardly had any hormonal sort of changes. I had nothing. So that was amazing. But because of my spinal injury, I couldn't be on that for too long. I was on it for 5 years, and that was enough, because they start worrying about your bone density and your bone health and other things that they had to consider. So yeah, then I switched to the coil about 18 months ago, and basically, again, that's been amazing, and it's not completely got rid of my periods, but they're very, 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 very light. So I don't really have to worry about it for too much, and it's only sort of 2 days. That's it. So again, and but I always have 2 days a month where I am quite like agitated a little bit, I would say. So I'm always a bit like, oh boys, I can feel it's coming, and I've got a bit of back pain and all these hormones. So yeah, it's more so than the injection was. The injection, I literally had nothing. It was amazing. It was the best thing in the world for 5 years.
It's like magic.
Yeah.
And how does your nutrition, in terms of your diet and stuff, how do you work with that to help your training?
Yeah, so I have to eat obviously more in those weeks. My body I get more cravings, and obviously I just crave chocolate so bad in that week.
The only one.
Yeah. In that week leading up to it, and I'm like, do you know what? I'd really need chocolate. So do you know what I've learned over the years? Again, just don't stop it. So I will eat really, really well 80% of the time. For the 3 weeks where I'm feeling good about my, good, and my hormones are all sort of level and that sort of thing, I will eat, a really good diet, loads of good meat, loads of carbs, veg, whatever I need, but, the calories I need for myself as well to, not gain weight and that sort of thing, and to fit around my training. And if I'm having a heavy load day or a heavy load week, I will up that slightly and I'll eat a little bit more. But yeah, then on the week where I'm sort of building up to it and, I'm feeling a bit hormonal, I will eat a bit of chocolate. I will eat some chocolate. I will have a pudding if I want it. I will do that. I don't not allow my body to have these things anymore. When I was first training back for London 2012, I was so strict on myself. And I was like, no, an athlete's got to be, eat clean all the time, do this. But do you know what? It's not actually as simple as that. And, I don't really like any food like being said as a bad food. It's just how you eat it, when you eat it, and moderation. I can't, you can't sit here and eat a huge chocolate bar every single day. But all things in moderation. And yeah, if my body needs it that week in particular, I'll have it. Even recently, when I've been going to camps, if I know that it's that week, I'll take a chocolate bar with me and I'll have a line every night when I go to bed. Stuff like that, but I just make sure that I eat really well the rest of the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And let's say your team is failing consistently. What's the process there? How do you set the mindset to be more positive and work harder? What is there a coach, a mindset, a sports what is it, psychologist for the team? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so we have a sports psychologist who helps us through these, patches when it's not going so well. Obviously, this is the emotional roller coaster of sport. There's amazing highs and there's terrible lows. And you get in a rut sometimes, and you have this period where the team's just not performing. And it is really hard. And you're trying to pinpoint all the issues, and you're like, what's wrong? Why are we not doing well? Sometimes you can overthink it, I think. And you can look too deep into it. But yeah, we've kind of come together as a team, and we figure things out, and we try new things, and we basically watch a load of video footage. We watch ourselves back. We see where we find the issues. Chris, our captain, one of our captains, we've got two, Chris and Gavin Walker. They're both really good guys, and Chris will sort of get us all together, and he'll be like, right, guys, we need to look at this element, and this is where we're falling down, and this is where we're good. So Chris is a really great leader, because he'll lead us in those areas. And then we've got the coaches, obviously, the coaching staff, who are, working really hard, tirelessly, like sort of looking at footage from all tournaments that we've played at and training. They record every training session when we're together at camp. So they'll kind of sit there and watch it all back and see where we're doing well and where we're not doing so well and what we can improve on. So yeah, as a team, we come together a lot with video analysis and stuff like that. And yeah, and then we've got a sports psych. So the guys that are sort of struggling with elements or find bits that they want to work on, then yeah, they can go and chat to the sports psych. We could talk together as a team as well. It's fine if they want to be open about it, but some of the team members prefer to go and have a chat with a sports psych and try and figure it out, you know, on their individual performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you study your opponents when you're in your...
Yeah, absolutely. We have to spend a lot of time doing that. We tend to get, you know, like with this lockdown and the way it's been at the minute, we try to get together in smaller groups rather than one whole big team. So we'll do what we call line meetings, which is basically the 4 players that go on court at one time together, because you have there's 12 of us in the team that play at a tournament, but there's 4 on the court at one time, depending on your function and what class you're in. So I am a 0.5 player, and it goes up in half points all the way to 3.5. And that is all dependent on your disability and your function. So you go, and when you first join the sport, you go to a classification, and you get put into a class depending on what muscles you've got working and what you haven't, basically. So yeah, we'll have line meetings between the 4 of us that are going to be on court at one time. And we know, obviously, within training and our camps, we always train in our lines. So we get used to the chemistry with those guys and who we're playing with and that sort of thing. So yeah, we've had a lot of line meetings recently, and looking back on our opponents and, you know, that line play in America or Canada or Australia or Japan. And yeah, watching it back, I used to hate it. I used to really hate watching myself. Yeah, it was one thing that, you know, sometimes when you hear yourself talking back and things, and it's like,
oh yeah,
my voice. Yeah. It's the same with sport. You know, you watch yourself back and you're like, what am I doing there? Like, why am I there? I shouldn't be there. You know, like you watch your back and you just think, what was I thinking? What are you doing? But you know, the more you do it and the more you watch yourself back and the more you watch yourself playing opponents and stuff, it really does improve your game, and it makes you see things better for the future and be like, okay, I remember watching that on the footage and I was in the wrong place, so don't do that again. You know, and those sorts of things. So it really does help. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of that recently with all this time that we've had.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. I think looking back at yourself, as painful as it is, it makes you go, oh, I sometimes have that in training where if for some reason I've been filmed, I'm like, I thought I was like moving really well and fast and like smoothly, and then you look and you're like, I am so clumsy and I'm going so slow. And it's sort of like your perception at the time is completely different to how it's observed.
Yeah, definitely.
It might sound silly, so sorry in advance, but would you help me understand this? Would your team play? So would the opponent team have a female as well, or would it be males against a male and female team? How's the balance?
Yeah, some of them have females. It purely depends. So with the classification and the points that we play at, the reason you have those points and we are what we are is because when you play on court, the 4 of you have to make 8 points.
So it doesn't matter what weight you totally in.
No.
But Kylie, if an 80 kilo man pushes your wheelchair, you're out. You're gonna be. They need to bring you back in the court.
Yeah.
What?
That happens, and they send me flying. They send me flying out the back of the key, and then I have to go and sit in the sin bin because they've knocked me out of bounds. And
Is there a strategy there? How do you?
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. So basically, this is what a lot of teams in the world target. So if they see a female on court, they will target me because then they will knock me out, and then that will give them the turnover.
Stop it.
Yeah, these are elements of the game. These are parts of the game that are like strategies, and they're things that you do. So if we see a female player on the Japanese team, I'll say, boys, hit her out. And you know what I mean? And like I'll be like, boys, look at the female. Come on, like smack her out. So the boy, when I'm on court, half the boy's job is to protect me. that, you know, they've got to protect me, they've got to get in the way so that they can't knock me out, they've got to help me. The whole point of wheelchair rugby is to help each other, the whole thing. I'm helping the high pointers, blocking for them so they scored a goal. They're helping me to stop the opponents hit me out of bounds and hit me out, you know. It is a full team sport, as in the whole point of the game is, yeah, to help each other get from one end to the other safely.
Yeah. So you do need to be very, very close and very, like, you need to be friendly. Would there ever be a point where there's an argument and there's a tension in relationship, or do you
Yeah, there can be sometimes, you know, where someone's made a mistake and we'll be like, what you doing? Or, you know, but like, we don't ever, if someone's made a mistake, as a team, we try and keep it positive. We try and next play, come on, next play. There's no point dwelling on it because you've just done that, you know. And within a team sport, like, you're all going to make mistakes and you're all going to do amazing things. It just happens. So the best way to be when someone's made a mistake or done something wrong is to be like, right, pick them up a bit. Come on, let's go. Now we've got to do the next play really well so we get it back. So yeah, we are all very positive, like-minded people. So we can sort of switch out of it and be like, yeah, let's go, next play. But of course, there's going to be a few bits of tensions occasionally, especially when you're on, like, you know, those really, really, like, I don't know, powerful games where it's so close and there's tension and it's like one goal here, one goal there, one goal, and it's like, everyone kind of gets, you know, you can feel it, you can feel the tension. But we're all, to be honest, I'm not going to lie, the GB team are, the guys that are in the team right now are all pretty phenomenal. There's not really any, you know, like shouting at each other. There's not really any aggressive behavior. There's not really any negativity towards each other. We are all there right now, picking each other up, trying to win this gold medal. We really are. That's what we want.
Wow. That's really, I feel like it's one of the best, like in terms of a team, like, because sometimes teams, I mean, you can tell when a team is not working very well because they probably don't do very well, because you need to have that sort of symbiosis, that kind of collective, like that collective working together and supporting each other. And it sounds like it's so immovable, like there's no, you can't, but in your team, that you have to do it. There's no way around it.
No.
And so it's actually really, like,
even if you don't like the guy, even if someone is an asshole.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we don't have any arseholes on the team at the minute, to be fair. We don't have any. I'm not going to lie. We're all pretty good guys. There's no one on the team that I dislike. I'm friends with all of them. Outside of the sport, I would see them all for a drink. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no one on that team that I don't like. We all get on extremely well. In my years of playing, this is the closest team I've ever been on with regards to relationships and how we all get on, you know, and I love it. The boys all look out for me. They're all there for me. It's so amazing, the dynamics in the team, though, because I've got friends that are like my tea buddies, and we have like tea club, and we'll go and have a nice little cup of tea. We're the older ones of the team, so we kind of stay away from the younger ones to give them a little bit of a break. And then you've got the younger ones who, you know, well, the youngest on our team right now is 25, so we've not got any young ones. When I was at London, we had some 18, 19-year-olds. But now, yeah, we're all sort of 25 and above. So even the younger ones that are still a bit jokey and go and have a joke, then, you know, they still have a good conversation with us. But I think I quite like it at the minute, the dynamics. We're all sort of, you know, 25 to 43, I think the oldest guy in the team is. And yeah, we're all kind of more middle-aged, sort of enjoying life. Some of them have got kids, they've got families, they've got big family men. So yeah, we've got a real good, nice dynamics in the team at the minute. It's really lovely.
That's really lovely. And so in terms of, I mean, we've kind of been covering it, but your message to people who might be dealing with permanent injuries of any kind, like what would you say to them, like, to sort of, you know, as a sort of a direct, like, to help with their mindset?
I think, you know, when it first happens, you've got to find your own way to some degree. Just take a minute and allow yourself to feel how you feel. But then you've got to find a way, if you can, to accept the situation. It's the most important thing. even if you don't fully accept it, just accept how it is right now and try and then look to like small little goals that you can achieve each day. This is what I say to everybody that I first meet. I'm like, just small achievable goals, even if it is going and getting yourself a drink. Just small goals each day, and then the next day maybe trying to put a sock on or trying to do something else for yourself. Especially when you have a high level injury like mine where you're tetraplegic and, you're at the beginning, you do have to rely on people's help. Just set yourself small little goals while you've got the time and you're at home. And then you'll see in such a short period of time, how much you've changed and like grown, and it's so amazing. But you've just got to allow it to happen, honestly, and just try and see the positives. Even if you feel like you're in the worst place in the world and you've got no sort of life left, you're in your house or you're in a rehabilitation center and you've had this bad injury and you can't do anything that you ever did before. You've got to try so hard. It's really difficult, I know, but you've got to just try and find some positives and some things that you're grateful for. Even writing down 3 things every day that you're grateful for, whether it be your family, good food that you're eating, the help and support you're getting, the love that you feel from people, that you are still alive and you can still hear and see things. You can still see nature, you can still hear birds. Write things down every day that you're grateful for. Find small things. And I promise you, I will tell everybody, I promise you will start feeling better. And it will get stronger and stronger, and you will get stronger, and you'll mentally get stronger, and you'll be able to tackle anything you want. There's nothing in this world I can't do, and I promise you there's nothing you can't do.
Wow. Kylie, so after you retire from your sport, what are your future plans? Have you thought about what you do after?
Yeah, of course. So I'm on that path now. I'm going to, keep doing what I'm doing with my talks, my speaking engagements, going into schools, colleges, universities, just trying to educate people on injuries and, living life to the best of your ability and those sorts of things, and resilience and mindset. I love talking about all of this. And then hopefully, I'm currently thinking about getting into a degree now, because there's about 3 years left of my career. I think I'll try and go to Paris, which is 2024. So I'm thinking about, alongside that, for the next 3 years, doing a degree in like health psychology, just to be able to understand people better, understand how we work and what level, like how people deal with things. Some people are like emotional thinkers, some people are rational thinkers. Like, I just want to understand people better, to how they can tackle different situations. So I'm thinking if I can do a degree in a bit of psychology, get that under my belt, and then hopefully in the future I'll be able to help more people with sort of mindset coaching, life coaching, those sorts of areas. They're the places I would like to go down.
So you wouldn't coach your sport?
No, definitely not. That's not for me. Coaching is a very, very unique thing. And you've got to, I don't get me wrong, I'm quite good at understanding how people learn, and we're all different. We all learn differently. But for me, personally, coaching is not my area. I love playing sport, but I'll leave that to the pros, because no, I'm not into that.
Right. I had one last question. Can I go for it?
Yeah.
So when people see a person with disabilities, they often feel quite nervous how they should react, how they should approach the person, not to show pity, because that's definitely not what the person wants. But would you give us a guidance? How would you want to be perceived, and how would you want people to be around you, so that we get an understanding?
So I'm, again, very unique in this area. So I'll explain it from my experience. A lot of other people are very, very different to me, and that's absolutely fine too. But for me personally, when people are meeting me, I just want to be treated like everybody else. I say this on my Instagram, and I say this on, on things when I'm talking about it and everywhere. I don't want to be anyone that, like, I don't want anyone to feel they can't talk to me about anything, even if they get it wrong. You know, I don't get offended by anything in the world, honestly. And I would rather you come up to me and say something, but get it slightly wrong, than not say anything at all. Like, you know, some people will say to me, oh, so how long have you been wheelchair bound, for instance? And I'm like, 15 years now, but can I just get you to rephrase that, or can I just help you here, rather than say like wheelchair bound, would you just mind saying wheelchair user, and things like that, because I'm not actually bound to my chair. I leave my chair regularly, I get out on the sofa, I do stuff. So some people's wording sometimes and they get it wrong a little bit, shall we say, but I don't want them to not feel they can ask me these things. So yeah. I would rather just sort of tell them that, can you just do it this way? But like coming up to me and saying wheelchair bound doesn't offend me at all. I do a little joke about it sometimes, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm not wheelchair bound, but it doesn't offend me. Things like that don't. At the end of the day, this is how I see it. We are all learning. Before my accident, I wasn't around disabilities. I didn't understand disabilities. I'd never really even seen a wheelchair user. So how is everybody else supposed to understand? I now understand because I live this life, and I see it from many views. But unless I have these conversations, unless I'm open with people and explain things and maybe show them what words to use, what not to use, how to, just come up to me and give me a hug. Just give me a hug like everybody else, or whatever. Obviously, we can't hug right now with COVID. But just stay there and be like, oh, how are you doing? How are you? And then just talk to me. And if you're so like, oh my God, there's a wheelchair there, or this or this, and just talk to me. Just be like, oh, Kylie, do you know what? I've never really seen a wheelchair user before. I've never seen someone in a chair. I've never seen a wheelchair. Like, tell me about it. Talk to me. I would much rather someone be open, honest, talk about it, get the words wrong, and I'll correct them, but in a polite way, because I'm not bothered. And yeah, talk to me, have open conversations, and just be scared. I don't want any able-bodied person to feel scared around me. There's no need to be at all. Okay. So that's how I deal with it.
No, that's brilliant, because I think so much of it is worrying you're going to upset someone, or worrying that they'll get offended, because it's the last thing you want to do ever anyway. Yeah. And it is just so much about exposure as well. Like, if you've got, it's like the same with mental health, it's the same with other things. If you've been exposed to something, then you have familiarity with it, and it makes you like you understand so much more about it. So yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's taught me something already.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think, shall we do our final question?
Yeah. You go
so our favorite question. What are you fighting for?
Oh, well, that's a really interesting one, because there's a few things, but right now in my sport and what I'm doing, I'm like really passionate about getting more women involved. I'm 100%. That's obviously I'm biased. I'm a woman, I'm in my sport, but constantly I spend a lot of my time right now trying to say to women everywhere that say to me things like, oh, Kylie, I love wheelchair rugby, it looks so amazing, but I'm scared to play with the men, I'm scared to do this, and I'm constantly like, come on, come and have a go, come with me, and I'll show you that it's really not that bad. So I am fighting right now really hard to get as many women in the sport as I possibly can. I've been doing it for years, and do you know what? The growth we've seen is unbelievable. When I first started playing, there was only 2 women that I saw regularly, and there was a couple of women in Ireland, and that was it, and 2 in Canada, and that was it, and that's all I saw. And now there's loads of women in America, there's loads of women in Germany, there's women all around the world. The top 4 teams heading to the Paralympic Games have got women in. This country, Great Britain, since 2012, we've now developed so many more rugby teams, and we had enough women in Great Britain last year to play an all-women's game, 4v4, all women, 8 women on court, and we've never had that before. So it's growing, and it's growing massively. But along with the amazing staff that we've got and the amazing women that are involved with the sport, other than me, like, able-bodied women, staff, we've got some amazing women in our sport that are pushing this as well, as much as I am. You know, and we've done like loads of campaigns, This Girl Can, all sorts of things, try and get more women involved. And yeah, so I'm fighting hard to get these women, because it's an amazing sport, and it's not only going to help like men and women, it's going to help people that are injured, it's going to help other disabilities, cerebral palsy. There's a vast, huge amount of disabilities that our sport helps. It's so inclusive for so many people, and I'm just trying to, yeah, get them all to come and have a go and make the sport grow. It will be amazing. So at the minute, that's what I'm fighting for the most.
Lovely.
Hope that happens. And I can definitely see women want to be around you. Like you bring, your vibe is so, like, you're so strong mentally and so positive, and that's what people would need. Not just people with disabilities, people in general. They need this strength, this positivity, because we often sleep for no reason.
Definitely, we do. And I'm such a girl's girl, you know. I've got my best friends from school. There's 7 of us, and we've been best friends since we were 12 years old. And it's rare to have girlfriends that close, that we've been around for years and years, and we've been there for each other, you know. And I'm such a girl's girl. I'm like, when I'm out there, all the girls are like, oh, but you're used to being with the boys. I'm like, yeah, but I want you to come play with me. I want the girls, you know. I love being around girls. I played girls netball, girls rugby. I love being around girls. I'm such a girls person. And so I'm always like, no, yeah, don't worry about the men. I want you. Come on, we're going to go and enjoy this. We're going to go and have some girls fun and get on with it. So yeah, I'd love it. I love being around the women, the girls, young, old, middle-aged, whoever. I just love it. I really enjoy it.
Amazing. Well, it seems like it is changing, which is absolutely fantastic, which is what we want to see. Thank you so much, Kylie, for joining us today. It's been so wonderful to talk to you, and you are inspiring. Like, your whole your attitude. I think every single person can learn from your attitude, and like that, as Marina said, of that positivity. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been amazing.